This is the new Deebot X2 Omni, the new flagship robot vacuum and mop from Ecovacs. And this thing sucks. Like, in a good way, because it's a vacuum. It actually sucks more than all the Deebots before it with 8,000 PA. That's a Pascal pressure unit. I looked that up, just for you. Not only does the X2 Omni have stronger suction power than previous Deebots, it has the new Osmo Turbo 2.0 rotating mopping. The mops lift so we can do both carpet and hard floors in one run. And it has a new compact size for the dock, so it takes up less space in your home, but also the robot is more compact, and it doesn't have that little nubbin on top, so it can actually fit in more tight spaces around your house and under lower clearances because of its smaller size. It has dual laser LiDAR, hot water mopping in the dock, a new True Mapping 3.0 with AI, and it also hot air dries the mops. I've been testing it for a couple weeks and comparing it to my Deebot T20 Omni, which I have loved for the past several months. I was actually supposed to review that like a couple months ago. Sorry, Deebot. And I'll compare the two in a moment because they were fighting over superiority. But let's talk about the hardware and design of the X2 Omni. Taking it out of the box, it was clear that this dock was smaller than previous models, and I love that they actually have the instructions on the interior of the lid of the dock. Many times I had to look up what certain buttons did on the outside of these docks, but these instructions are all right under the lid. The robot is also more compact and has a square head. I don't know if you guys remember like the blockheads from Gumby, which actually helps it clean better in those corners of your home. Installation super easy. There's one spinning brush on the side. The two mops actually came pre-installed, and it was ready to set up in the app. Inside the dock, you still have the clean water tank and dirty water tank, but unlike the T20 dock, there's no space in the middle, which helps it stay more compact in your home. Push on the drawer underneath and it opens where the dustbin is. You can change that out every couple months. And in my experience using these different robots, you typically have to fill the water every 2 or 3 times it runs, depending on the size of your home. And I try to empty the dirty water out every time it runs because it can get a little smelly. But that means it's doing its job, so kudos. When you first run the X2 Omni, it will do a quick mapping of your house. It won't get everything in super detail. It'll do that on your first full cleaning. But run that quick mapping, try to get everything off the floor. But the X2 Omni does have new AI features and object recognition, so it should do a good job of avoiding things like pets and toys. I found it did a decent job, but I would still clean up any stray Legos you might have around the house. But probably most important of all, how does it clean? I found the X2 Omni vacuuming actually did really well. It does only have one spinning brush compared to the 2 spinning brushes on my T20 Omni. And while I like the idea of the 2 brushes thinking it gets more debris, sometimes it just kind of flings it away. So the 1 brush and the increased suction power on the X2 Omni actually means the vacuuming power is really good. I think a little better than the T20. Mopping wise, it does a great job. It will auto lift those mops, so if it goes on carpet, it won't get the carpet wet. And after it went around vacuuming and mopping all in one run, the floor was really clean. I think mopping is on par with the T20 Omni. And like I mentioned in comparison with an older Deebot model and the Roborock S7 Max V Ultra, that's a mouthful, I do prefer the 2 spinning mops. I think it does a better job mopping the floor than kind of those single mop pads that raise and lower, at least on the Roborock S7 and S8. Now I did find that the T20 Omni was a little more methodical in its back and forth as it cleaned the floors. The X2 Omni, I'm not sure what it was doing with AI or trying to map, but it felt a little more sporadic. It definitely got the edges first and really tries hard to get very close to the edges, which I appreciate, but sometimes in the middle of the rooms, it would feel a little sporadic. I was leaving the AI features on at first, but I actually find that this might confuse it a little more. Here in the app, that's easy to do. It's one toggle. You can turn on or off the AI features, and maybe with firmware updates, this will get better, but I found it's a little more organized having those AI features off. And even with AI off, it still maps your house, does all the obstacle avoidance, and cleans really well. And I did find the X2 Omni was going under folding chairs and under lower clearance objects that the previous T20 Omni and other robots just can't get under. So if you actually want a more thorough cleaning, I think the X2 is going to get into more of those crevices. And I did my highly scientific cracker crumb test, and the X2 was able to clean it up no problem, didn't leave a trace of crackers. Another improvement of the X2 is the entire dock and mopping system and washing is actually much quieter. Here's the T20 Omni when it's getting ready to clean. It can make a good amount of noise. It's washing the mops, filling it with water, and that's expected. It's going to do some hard work. But I did find the X2 was quieter. Here's what it sounds like when it's doing the mop washing and all that. And both will wash the mops with hot water and hot air dry the mops, which really helps. My previous robot vacuums that didn't have drying, it can get pretty nasty around the mop area. So both of these models do really well at keeping that area cleaner. Now jumping into the Ecovacs app, the Deebot X2 Omni definitely has a different experience compared to the T20 and older models. This is a new 3D mapping of the house, and you can edit things like furniture placement, dividing rooms, and things like that. To give you an idea, here's my T20 Deebot. You can take the map into 3D mode, but it's a little less visually pleasing. I usually keep it in 2D anyway because it's easier to select rooms and mark specific areas to clean. The T20 knows where its dock is, and I do have to say, for both the T20 and the X2, if you ever have to move the dock, take the robot out, move the dock, and then just send the robot home, and they both do a really good job of finding the new location of the dock. My Roborock S7, if I moved that dock, it had no idea where it was going or where that dock was. So kudos to Deebot for having that dock moving much easier, and it can find it. Now, if you're used to the older Deebot style, like with the T20, you can clean your entire house by tapping auto, or you can tap area, select specific rooms, or do a custom cleaning and drag the square and you can resize it if you need to pick up a spill or something. The X2 is a little different. It also has a video manager because there is a camera on this vacuum. You do password protect the videos, and it's kind of nice to be able to see where it is, especially if it gets lost. But if you just don't want a camera on your robot, the Deebot T20 might be a better option. No camera there. Again, if I want to go into the 2D mapping, I can just tap 2D, and I get a similar view as the older models. Again, robot knows exactly where it is in the dock. And I will say it's done a pretty good job of mapping the different rooms and separating them. A cool feature of the X2 though is it will distinguish between carpets and hard floors, so you can see this little material there. That's the carpet in our family room. You can edit and move the furniture around, split combine rooms and all that. You can tap the station features and turn on or off, things like the hot air drying or mopping pads cleaning. Now if you want to just clean a specific room, you don't have to go to a different mode. Just tap a room that you want or tap multiple and it will go clean those rooms. You can also tap individual pieces of furniture and it will clean around that, which is pretty cool. If I swipe up, you can change the different modes like vacuum only, just mopping, vacuum and mopping mode, which is what I typically do, or mop after vacuum. Maybe you had a party and there's a lot of stuff on the floor, you might want to mop after you do the vacuuming. You can change the vacuum suction power, water flow level, and you can also have it run the entire sequence 2 times if you want to make sure it's extra clean. Turn on deep scrubbing and it'll actually vacuum in smaller lines to make sure everything is really clean. You can set a schedule. Once it detects a carpet, it'll boost the suction power. I need to change that to feet. Going into the log, you can actually see the patterns where it's cleaned. This was just cleaning our family room here, and it does a great job going back and forth. So even though it might look sporadic as it's cleaning, it's getting the whole room. And if you want to clean a very specific area, I can tap the square in the bottom right corner and then move these around, pinch and zoom, move these squares around. You can resize it and then just pick up a spill if it just happened. And you can even set multiple individual areas if you want to clean up a couple spills. Going into the map editor, you can again combine, label, divide rooms. But if you want to edit furniture, you actually have to go to the 3D mapping view. I kind of wish you could go back and forth in the 3D and 2D mode as I'm about to edit the map, or even here as I'm trying to move furniture around. But once you're in 3D mode, then you can add furniture, add carpet, change things around. So if you're looking to get a robot vacuum and mop, I do really like the Deebot lineup. I really love my T20, and I'm still going to be keeping that and running it periodically just to see how these AI features roll out with the X2. The X2 being their new flagship robot is $1,500. You can get it on sale. There's a coupon right now as I record this video, and it'll probably be on sale on Amazon as well. If you want to buy either of these robots, links are down in the description. And if you have a lot of low clearance or individual nooks and crannies in your home, the X2 might be a better option to get into those smaller spaces. But if you need something a little less expensive, the Deebot T20 Omni is around $800. Again, you could find it on sale periodically. And I've used this one for several months, and I love how this thing cleans, how everything works. It still has the hot air drying, hot water mop cleaning, and it lifts those mops so it can do carpet and hard floors in the same run. Links to both the X2 and the T20 down in the video description if you have any questions about these robot vacuums, mops. And before you go, hit that like button and subscribe. Lots of smart home products going up on the channel. I have the new Aqara E1 camera, which is a HomeKit secure video camera for $60. It's a great deal. I have that video review up here. And I'm going to be doing an updated smart home tour soon, showing some new devices like smart shades, garden hose controllers, and some new home key locks that I've installed recently. I'll put one of those smart home videos right here if you'd like to see that. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time.